Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome into the facility. Quite literally way too much to talk about on a day like today. Game 7, NBA Finals. It happened last night. Star player Tyrese Halliburton, he had to leave. Oklahoma City Thunder, they're crowned champions. Before that happened, Kevin Durant, he's on the move to Houston. What in the world is going on in the world of sports? Hey, less debate, more discussion. That's why you're here. This is the facility. Yeah. I'm joined by the basketball brilliant mind himself, Rick Bucher. On the far end, Super Bowl champ for the Packers, the one and only James Jones. And to my right,
got the own intro. To my right, the God is always right. For sure, Shady McCoy. I told y'all. Where's the college stuff at now, Joe? Oh, you didn't bring it. Oh, he didn't bring it?
Shady, there's no way you feel great about that victory. Tyrese Halliburton balling to start that game. Made 3 threes to start that game. There is no way you can come up here and in good faith, confidence, with all these things, truly believe and truly gloat after that victory.
It's been a 7-game series, right? That's what it's at. Game 7 took the Thunder to win. And you talked about Halliburton 2 times out of the whole series. The game where he had game 1, I think game 3, he had 22 points.
22-12.
Other than that, he's been regular. He's like the third best player in the league.
Shady, he had more three-pointers made in 7 minutes yesterday than anybody the whole game.
Tell them, because I don't care. Your team lost, my team won.
Where's my single? Where is my single? Right here, Tyrese Halliburton had more three-pointers made in 7 minutes than any other player on either team the entirety of the game.
This champagne still spilling out here. You know what I mean? He talking about all that, they sipping more. Pop champagne.
I can't believe you.
Shady, let's be real.
Let's be real about what?
Once the series went to 6 games, you were wrong.
I said that the better team will win. However you want to cut it. However you want to cut your cake. Eat that cake.
I'm glad Shady asked that question.
Hey, Thunder, congratulations. It's hard to win a championship. SGA, you on your way, baby.
Hey, get one more time, please. Get well soon, Tyrese.
Yes, please.
Get well soon. Hey, let's just get to the sound of it all. Tyrese Halliburton, he had to leave the game with an injury. Colvin, who's talking? What sound are we tossing to? What sound are we tossing to so I can set it up? All right.
That's championship sound right there.
Oh,
that's championship sound right there. He don't know what that is right there.
Oh, he didn't want to go to SG.
Feels amazing. So much weight off my shoulders. So much stress relieved. I'm so proud of this group. I wouldn't have rather done it with any other group in the world. It feels good to be a champion.
What happened with Tyrese is just all of our hearts dropped. But he will be back. He authored one of the great individual playoff runs in the history of the NBA.
The author of one of the great individual playoff runs in the history of the NBA. The NBA Finals, congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let me start by saying that has to come out of anybody's mouth first on a day like today. But what I can say is this. I don't know if we will ever know if the best team won the NBA Finals. And I don't just say this as a fan. I don't just say this as somebody who supports Tyrese Halliburton. I say this as somebody who experientially lived it. I've only been in one championship game in my adult career. Went to the national championship game in college, playing the University of Alabama before they had ever won a championship. Nick Saban's first one, playing 18 miles down the road in Pasadena. Starting quarterback, Colt McCoy, Heisman runner-up. We're going down the field, driving down the field in that game against the vaunted Alabama defense, and he gets hit by Marcel Darius. He gets hurt. Alabama goes on to win that game because we had to replace Colt McCoy with the true freshman quarterback. Alabama won that game. Shout out to Alabama. The Thunder won that game. Shout out to the Thunder. But did the best team win that game? We'll never know. Because I do not think that Alabama was the best team in that game. Obviously, I'm biased. I played and started that game for the University of Texas. Did the best team win that game last night? I guess we'll never know. Of course, you might want to suggest that the Thunder won that game, but I recall, if I'm not mistaken, the Thunder were trailing at halftime 48-47. I recall Tyrese Halliburton having more points than Miles Turner, Naismith, and Obi Toppin combined. And Tyrese Halliburton played 7 minutes. I recall Tyrese Halliburton having more three-pointers made in 7 minutes than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had in his 40. Then Jalen Williams had in his 40, then Naismith had in his 20-plus, then Turner had in his 20-plus, then Toppin had in his 20-plus, and Mathurin had in his 20-plus. I recall Tyrese Halliburton doing more in 7 minutes than half of his team did in the next 40. So did the best team win that game? I can't fully suggest and say with confidence that the best team did indeed win that game. As I was talking about before the game, the palms were sweaty, weak knees, arms was all tight.
I hear you, Eminem. I hear you, Em.
So with that being said, shout out to the Thunder. But Shady, did the best team actually win the finals?
This is
I guess we'll
wild,
never
yo.
know.
This Thunder, I will not do y'all like that.
Hey.
I hate to see Halliburton get hurt, but I can't do y'all like that. Y'all earned this thing. Y'all been the best team all season.
All year.
And y'all was the best team in the finals, right? You talk about Halliburton, I won't even talk about him too much because he's injured, and as this brotherhood of sports, especially elite sports, we never even talk about the injuries. But I don't know if he was even the best point guard on his team in his final series. Do you? Let me ask again.
Yeah, he
doesn't
speak English all of a sudden.
And this brotherhood of sports, elite sports,
All of a sudden, he's
professionals.
talking different
We don't
language.
talk about injuries, but I just asked a question.
I
don't know if Halliburton was the best point guard on his team in the finals. Do you think so?
TJ McCollum played well.
All right, so let's just keep it respectful. You know, I do think that if he played in this game, the ending would have been the same result, but it might have been a little different. He probably had, like 17 points, something around there, maybe some more assists. He's got his team more involved, but they just wasn't a better team. That's it. Simple as that. When I kept calling the Pacers a college team, it was more of when you need a bucket, when you need a score, and you go through the whole offense, right? And now the offense is set back again. Who's gonna give you that bucket? They couldn't do it. They couldn't score. Even SGA, if he's struggling scoring, or Jay Weld, you know I got somebody I can go to. When the coach is in the huddle drawing up a play, if the offense don't work right there, who can I go to? It was a point in the game where they just couldn't score. And I can't remember what it was around
8:32 in the third.
8:32 in the third, and all the points came from TJ. Yeah. Going on to the fourth, nobody else could score. It was like 4 minutes. It was like fourth quarter, like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And since the 8:30 mark in the third, nobody else scored a bucket for the Pacers but TJ.
Turned into a whole different team.
And you talking about who the best team is. Come on, man. And the sad part and the scary part is, I think the OKC Thunder, I think they get better next year. A lot of experience. They're a young team.
They are young.
Man, I'll let you play around if you want to.
We'll get to that. The reason I'm not convinced is this. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went 8 for 27 from the field. Didn't play a great game.
Nope.
Jalen Williams went 7 of 20 from the field. Didn't play a great game. Meanwhile, Tyrese Halliburton in 7 minutes was 3 of 4 from 3. Mind you, Shai SGA, 2 of 12 from 3. J-Dub, 2 of 7 from 3. Again, Tyrese Halliburton in 7 minutes, 3 of 4 from 3. What I'm trying to convey is that was a game that the Pacers likely would have won based upon the recipe of how that game went. You're telling me Shai went 8 of 27? You're telling me combined the Thunder 2 best players was 15 of 47? 15 of 47? And you want me to believe that the Pacers would not have won that game? It's just hard for me to believe that the Thunder on that day would have been the better team. That's just what's hard for me to believe.
So now we're changing the question. We're changing it from did the best team win the finals to did the best team win Game 7? Right? Right? Because you're going through this little window of on any given night, let me throw March Madness in here, right? And here's the reality is that, yes, and to Shady's point, because this is about the entire season. Mm-hmm. The Oklahoma City Thunder had the best record in the league in spite of the fact that Chet Holmgren missed 50 games, that Isaiah Hartenstein missed 25 games. They had injuries that could have impacted their season. It was just at a different time, and they overcame that to have the best record in the league so that Game 7 was on their home floor. Because you can't tell me that having it at home didn't make a difference in this Game 7. So if we take into account injuries and suggest that this wasn't a fair fight or that this should be discounted, this win should be discounted because of an injury, we could do that with almost every championship team. Every championship team. Because surviving the grind of the season is part of the challenge of being a champion, is you are going to face injuries and setbacks at some point. Unfortunately for the Indiana Pacers, they faced their greatest one in Game 7, but it's a little bit like when the Warriors lost KD and they lost
to Toronto.
They lost Klay Thompson. right? That was a culmination of the season. And it eventually hit him. I remember saying that season, because of all the long runs that they had, and because they were so top-heavy and they relied, much like the Indiana Pacers relied on Tyrese Halliburton so much, that, you know what, in this day and age, that relying so much on one player is going to come back and get.
But you would have said in 2019, when the Raptors beat the Warriors, you would have said the best team did not win the finals because the Warriors were a better team.
Well, that's too.
Obviously, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant is not greater than Tyrese Halliburton. But I'm just simply suggesting this isn't always a wild question to ask.
Yeah, no, it's wild in this situation because of how Tyrese Halliburton was playing. Right? So let's not forget how Tyrese Halliburton, and I pray that Tyrese Halliburton gets healthy, but let's not forget how he was playing. Now, if you would have came on this show and the Pacers won and SGA got hurt, I could listen to your statement. The boy got 30, 30, 30, 30. He's clearly the best player not only in the world at this point because he's MVP, but in this series. And I could say, okay, dang, he's out. Tyrese Halliburton and this Indiana Pacers team, he really was a role player on this team for them this year, especially in the finals. He was. That's how he was playing. My man only went over 20 points one time in this series. So you saying the way he started off would have automatically sent him to 30? No. The way he started off would have had him around 20 points, and it still probably would have equaled a loss. So to me, this is not like a KD or a Klay Thompson. Them dudes was balling in the final. So that's different to me.
But couldn't you suggest this, though, that Tyrese Halliburton is a conduit for everything that happens with the Pacers? He's not going to give you 30 like KD's going to give you. He's not going to give you 20 like Klay Thompson's going to give you. But what he is going to give you is 8 assists. He's going to make sure that Toppin gets involved instead of Toppin having a goose egg. He's going to make sure Miles Turner gets involved instead of Miles Turner, I believe, having maybe 4 or 6 points. He's going to make sure that Naismith gets his shots because Naismith can't create on his own. Wouldn't you suggest that if Tyrese Halliburton is present, he would have done what everybody else could have done, and McConnell wouldn't have had 8 turnovers because all the great things T.J. McConnell did, make no mistake about it, he turned that ball over,
So
too.
I'm not saying by any means that they're a better team without Halliburton. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is when Halliburton was on the court this season in the 7-game series in the finals, my man just asked you a question and you act like you couldn't speak English as he wasn't the third best player on his team. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're talking Klay Thompson and KD. We're talking dudes that was balling.
Okay, but it's not
That's
as if,
different.
It's not as if Tyrese, I'm going to throw you a lifeline here. It's not as if Tyrese didn't have at least one really good, impactful game.
Not saying he did.
In the finals.
He did. He had game
So
three.
if he had given you a second, look, he was never a scorer, but it was his combination of scoring and getting everybody
Agreed. That's our
involved
point guard.
that made him impactful. He was 1 rebound short of a triple-double. If he gives me 1 rebound short of a triple-double in last night's game, then I think it's a much different game. And he did come out aggressive. So there's reason to believe that we might have gotten a special game out of Tyrese Halliburton last night.
That's all
in
I'm
spite
suggesting.
of what we had seen for the better part of the series.
But if we doing that, then we can sit here and say was the best team in the finals. Because they played a Cavs team that didn't have 2 of their best players.
Yeah.
They started off playing a Milwaukee team that didn't have Dame, so we can't do that.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going so far as to say that the Indiana Pacers were the better team. I think the right team won, but to suggest that Tyrese Halliburton had no impact.
No, nobody's saying that.
We're not saying that because he's a good player for them, for sure. But let's just talk about, because y'all act like he gets everybody involved all the time. There's times where he didn't do anything, and Miles Turner had like 4 or 5 points. Finished the game like that. Toppin, right? There's times where he went off. Halliburton had nothing to do with that. What we can't do is sit up here and he's hurt, and I hate that he got injured. But let's stop acting like if he was 100% healthy, that they just win this game because he's been playing so great. Because there's a lot of games where he's been absent.
That's true.
A lot of games that they won, he's been absent. We can't find him.
I'm not coming up here and saying with my whole chest that they win the game if Tyrese Halliburton does not say. All I'm coming up here and saying is I am not convinced that they lose the game if Halliburton is present. I'm not coming up here standing on this desk saying they would have won.
matter of fact.
But what I'm coming up here and saying is Tyrese Halliburton is a stone cold killer. He's proven that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton in the biggest moments plays his best. This was the biggest moment. He was on pace to play his best, albeit 7 minutes. He usually plays about 30, so he played about 22% of how many minutes he would have played. He was on pace to play his best. History shows against the Cavs. History shows against the series beforehand against the Milwaukee Bucks. He plays his best in the biggest moments, and it looked like he was about to do that.
Can we say this, though? I think he's been like the third best player on the Pacers this finals. Being generous. Let's think about
Not
that.
being generous, being stingy, you could say it. Being stingy, you could say. You could put McConnell ahead of him.
In the finals, I'm taking TJ before him, and I'm taking Siakam before him in the finals.
You being
I
stingy,
only,
you
I
could
only
say.
have one issue with what you said. You said he's a stone cold killer.
He'd proven to be so in the
I
playoffs.
think he can be a stone cold killer. There's a difference.
The killer's other side, SGA, that's a killer.
Well, speaking of killers, we got to make a transition because the other gigantic story in the NBA was this. Kevin Durant, Shady refers to him as the God, is on the move from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets. Remember, people, this is a gigantic deal. He's joining a Rockets team that was a 2 seed this year alone, and they didn't have to give up that much. I believe here's Kevin Durant speaking on the move.
Being a part of the Houston Rockets, I'm looking forward to it. Crazy last couple of weeks, but I'm glad it's over with. You know, when people could just hang your career in the balance like that and just choose what they want to do with your career is a nerve-wracking feeling, but being able to dictate what you want to do and then being with a team that values you, and I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, being with a team that values you, he's looking forward to it. Shady, you're dancing, so you must be in a good mood. Should the Rockets be excited about Kevin Durant?
What? Yes, we talking about Kevin Durant. I don't know how y'all feel about Kevin Durant, especially you. But it's hard to get better than Kevin Durant. I can maybe 3 players right now is better than Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is phenomenal. You look at a team that was the second seed in the West with the Rockets, right? And they coached very, very well. And you add Kevin Durant. Now, Jalen Green, he didn't really do much in this playoffs, in this series against the Warriors. We all felt like he could have did better, and I knew he would probably leave out. And then Dylan Brooks, good defensive player, but you're not really missing nothing much there. If you look at the Rockets team, they are loaded, yo. They have defense, they have size. Now you bring one scorer in there. Sometimes in these games against the Warriors, I was like, man, is it me or the Rockets don't have no go-to bucket getter? Now you got one. Not that you got one, you got an elite one. So I think at this height of his career right now, his age, where he's at, you go to a team that plays really good defense, that's young, that's moving around, a lot of energy, with good coaching, and then you add Kevin Durant. I am ecstatic about this. Another thing is, since his Achilles injuries the last 5 years, the brother man averaged like 29 points, something like that. Almost 30. Now you get more size, more rebounding, more defense? What? This is scary for the West. It's scary for the West.
I hate.
You hate it.
Hate.
Oh, Kevin Durant?
Hate. Oh. I hate that I love this. I absolutely love this.
Hate that you love.
And I love it because of this reason. Usually when you acquire Kevin Durant, you have to hemorrhage your roster to acquire him. So the team that Kevin Durant is joining is not the team that traded for Kevin Durant, if y'all know what I'm saying. When you think about the Phoenix Suns, they had to hemorrhage their roster to acquire Kevin Durant, but the Houston Rockets do not have to hemorrhage their roster to acquire KD. I would suggest they get to keep the nucleus of that roster, the quality nucleus of that roster. In the playoffs, Şengün is the one that stepped up. Remember, Draymond Green suggested Şengün was one of the toughest covers, and Draymond Green's one of the best defenders of the generation. In the playoffs, it was Amen Thompson who showed that he had the grit, the toughness, and the determination to rise up. If they can retain Van Fleet, then you're retaining somebody who knows how to win a championship. That's something Van Fleet won in 2019 with the Raptors. You're also retaining a leader of that team, but here might be the most important thing I'm going to say in regards to anything I say, and if you hear nothing else, hear this. I do not believe the Rockets have any renegades on their roster because when Kevin Durant shows up, usually the renegades are exposed. A renegade, somebody who all of a sudden abandons their previous beliefs. That's what happened with Kyrie Irving with the Nets. Kyrie Irving all of a sudden became a renegade. Wait, it's COVID, now you don't want to play basketball anymore? That's what happened with Devin Booker. Devin Booker, under the tutelage of Chris Paul, started to ascend into great heights as a team player. Kevin Durant shows up, all of a sudden, Devin Booker, you start tweeting things out when coaches get fired, 36 unbothered, 35 plus 1, Kevin Durant's jersey number, Devin Booker's jersey number. When Monty Williams, the same Monty that got you to the NBA Finals, he gets fired and now you want to tweet that you're unbothered? Renegade showed up. When I think about the culture of the Rockets. It is a culture that has already been set in stone, very similar to the culture of the Warriors. Kevin Durant is not a culture builder. Kevin Durant is not a culture shifter, but Kevin Durant is an elite player joining a team that already has a culture set. No renegades in the building. I actually love it, and I hate that I do.
I like it. I don't love it. I like it because he's what they need, and they didn't have to give up a whole lot to get him. Yeah. And they were the second best team record-wise in the Western Conference. So all those pieces fit. I still believe that if I wanted to imagine Kevin Durant playing for a championship, it would be with the Denver Nuggets, finding a way to get that done. I think him, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic as your core. I don't know necessarily how Alperen Sengun and KD are going to play off of each other, right? I like that Fred VanVleet is there and he has a ring, so he has a certain amount of gravitas when it comes to KD and running the show there on the floor. Not that you're going to, KD's not going to be your go-to guy, but you have a floor general who's won a ring, who can say to KD, I've done what you've done, I know how to get there. Ime Udoka. Is a no-nonsense coach. So to your point, the culture is there and they need KD. And maybe the most important part is just listening to KD, it sounds like he's excited to go there. It sounds like he wants to get something accomplished here. And to me, that's the biggest thing. When he went to Phoenix, I looked at it and I was like, how's that going to work? Like, I don't see him elevating him just because of the other pieces that they have there. When he went to Brooklyn, that was, I don't know what that was, right? This at least makes sense. Do I expect immense things, a big surprise? Does he take him past Oklahoma City? I don't go quite that far. So I like it. I just I think there was a better place.
I absolutely love it. I mean, especially for what they gave up. You basically got KD for Green. That's basically what you're, I mean, 5 second-round picks. I mean, you don't know what the number 10 overall pick going to be, and that's number 10. It ain't like it's number 2 or something. But getting KD for what they got, like Acho said, you were able to keep the whole roster intact and basically take out Jalen Green and put in KD. And this already was a really good basketball team. But they're going to be a problem because they are coached really, really well. Now you got a guy that can get a bucket at will, a guy that's going to space the floor, so he's going to make it easier for Sengun. You can't just double Sengun if you want to because KD is out there right now. And Jalen Green went missing in the playoffs. This was a really good team in the regular season, but he went missing in the playoffs. With Kevin Durant, you just toss him the ball and he can go to work and make your team better. They are going to be a really good basketball team, and they are going to be able to defend. The West just got stronger over there. It's going to be some trouble trying to deal with these Rockets.
You know what KD gives them? He gives them what the Indiana Pacers were missing.
What's that?
That guy who can go get you a bucket when you absolutely need a bucket.
That's it.
You got Kevin Durant on your team.
Man.
This will be interesting. Hey, when we return, getting the inside scoop from somebody that was inside the arena. Game 7, everything that you could have expected to happen, it happened. A superstar, unfortunately, goes down. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he wins the MVP. We will be joined by Rachel Nichols, who was in the building to paint the picture of what you couldn't see on Twitter or even in the game. She has all the behind-the-scenes exclusive access. That's next. Don't forget, check us out every day.
Pop champagne.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Thunder won Game 7 last night, like we told you all. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous, you see him hugging his people there. Tobin, they've already seen this. Let's bring it back on camera. Had a couple technical difficulties, but joined now again by Rachel.
We're
hopefully,
back, baby.
everything has been fixed. And Rachel has rejoined us. Unfortunately, Tyrese Halliburton last night, he didn't rejoin his team. So can you continue with what was the atmospheric shift like when Halliburton went down?
Well, it was really instantaneous. I think the whole crowd knew what was going on. I mean, he's on the deck. He's pounding against the court. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was actually one of the first people to come over and just sort of tap him on the head. And we all knew. We all knew because we have seen this just 6 years ago with Kevin Durant. coming in with a calf injury and calf soreness and leaving with an Achilles tear. These injuries are related. Tyrese Halliburton, in some ways, may have been playing on borrowed time. But he wanted to go out there. He certainly knew the risks. He talked about it over the past few days. And as the rest of the building watched him slam his hand on the court, you just felt for him. And the air went out of the building. The fans didn't really know how to react. When they did carry him off the court into the locker room, he got a huge standing ovation. But even then, there was just sort of this down sigh in the building. And they actually had to get on the Jumbotron and play one of those videos where they sort of start to get people to clap, 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 and sort of tell fans it was okay to cheer again, because really something just series changing had just happened.
Did you notice a look? Because again, when you're inside the arena, you can notice so much that we would just love to hear about. Carlisle, did he speak to Siakam at that moment? Did Siakam go talk to Naismith? Did Naismith say something to Nembhard? Did Nembhard look at Toppin or Mathurin? Did TJ McConnell say, hey, guys, I got this? What happened within the Pacers bench after the Halliburton injury?
Yeah, I mean, you could just see them talking a lot to each other. They are familiar with this. Remember, Halliburton went out for the last few games of last year's playoffs, and they actually played what people refer to as one of the closest sweeps in NBA history to Boston Celtics. They were right there at every game. So they looked at each other in a way that you felt that they were confident they could continue on, but they also knew that they had lost their leader. Pascal Siakam, interestingly enough, really took an obvious leadership role in the next huddle, talking to the guys, kind of letting them know that he was there now. He was the one that they could look to. So you noticed that as the TV cameras were away. But this is a team that still went about its business and went into the half leading by a point. I mean, that's the confidence that they clearly have in each other.
Before we move on to focus on the winners and the Thunder, one more final thought on the Pacers. Did Carlisle express any regret, either about rotations, either about his usage of McConnell or Mathurin, either about his extensive usage of Toppin without production later in the game, either about playing Tyrese Halliburton, maybe playing him in Game 6? Did he express any regret at the podium or even after the game?
No, and I don't know if you can, right? Your team gets to leading at halftime of a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Whatever you did to get there is good enough, because that's where it got you. So, no, I mean, he just expressed real sorrow for Tyrese. This, of course, not only impacted the game last night, the series. He's not going to play for all of next season. That's going to affect their entire team and what roster decisions that they make. So I think the enormity of the situation once they were off the court and what was ahead for them was really what was on everyone's minds post-game, including Rick Carlisle.
Now let's talk about the Thunder, because they did have one of the most glorious seasons, obviously in their franchise history, but in NBA history. But after the game in celebration, you could tell notably, like, it wasn't as lit as most locker rooms are. The champagne was still full. The beer was unopened. Can you paint the picture of what in the world was going on post-game?
This was amazing to me. I have covered dozens of championships in multiple sports, Super Bowls, World Series, Stanley Cup Finals, plenty of NBA championships. I have never seen a locker room like this. First of all, several of the guys had to be taught how to open a champagne bottle. Alex Caruso, you can see footage of it on the NBA's website. Alex Caruso is literally going from guy to guy, teaching them how to open a champagne bottle, because most of them don't know. They get the bottles open. They have maybe, 45 seconds of the spraying each other, right? He's showing them how to shake it up. They're just watching him. Do you see that? I mean, it is unbelievable. Then they have about 45 seconds of this. This is what we've seen on TV. This is what we're going to do. It's great. And then that's it. That is it. I'm telling you, I walked around the table where they keep all the alcohol, and normally there's just bottles littered everywhere. Normally you walk in as a reporter, you wear clothes that you know are going to get drenched in champagne. Guys are pouring stuff on everyone's heads. None of that was going on. It was almost silent. There were maybe 8 empty bottles of champagne. That's it. I tweeted out a photo of it, and also just sort of all the unopened beers. Michelob Ultra is, I guess, a sponsor at this point of the NBA Finals, and you can see all of those unopened beer bottles sitting there. Nobody touched them. And in fact, in a press conference later, Chet Holmgren was referring to the sponsorship, and he said, yes, because these Michelob goggles. He didn't even know what Michelob was called. He just said Michelob. And I asked Sam Presti about this, and he just looked at me and goes, Rach, these guys aren't old enough to drink. They're just not drinkers. And they were happy, and they were cheering for each other. But I swear to God, I don't know if this is the new, Gen Z championship. We know the Gen Z doesn't drink as much as previous generations. but I have never, ever walked into a locker room like this. It was absolutely surreal.
Let's focus for a moment on the MVP. SGA, he completes an illustrious run, scoring title, finals MVP, regular season MVP. I believe one of only 4 players in the history of the NBA ever to do so. You tweeted after the game that SGA was a lock for the Hall of Fame after the accomplishments that he's done on this season alone. Obviously, though, he has 3 All-NBA teams before that. But here's your tweet for the viewers, essentially suggesting that SGA is a lock for the Hall of Fame. You got pushback on this tweet. Are you surprised?
I was kind of shocked at the number of people who are on NBA Twitter, which is a very online community, seem to be, oh, give it 10 years. We don't know yet. This is way premature. Oh, you're crazy. He's a free throw merchant. I mean, people don't understand, I guess. This is the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. This is not the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is very hard to get into. This is not the Pro Football Hall of Fame. One thing I actually like about the Basketball Hall of Fame is that it celebrates a wide swath of people in the game. The standard is not so high that it's only for the very, very elitist. It really celebrates the entire game of basketball and all the players you know who made the NBA over the years. Well, flip side of that is if you have the resume, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could never play another bounce of basketball in the NBA again, and he will get into the Hall of Fame. In fact, as a former MVP, there is only one eligible MVP who is not in the Hall of Fame in the entire history of the NBA, and that's Derrick Rose, who, as we know, had his career, totally mangled by injuries. But that's it. Every other MVP is in the Hall, Nacho. He is getting there. Scoring title, regular season MVP, finals MVP, champion. He's in.
You're not only an incredible journalist, but also an opinionist. So let me ask you one final opinion-based question. We got 7 different champions over the last 7 years. The Toronto Raptors, followed by the Lakers, followed by the Milwaukee Bucks in there. Then you have the Warriors, you have the Celtics, you have the Nuggets. Now you have the Thunder. We always ask the question about dynasty, and sometimes that's a question that comes too soon. But with this team being so young, the nucleus of the team remaining, the coach young and ascending, do you believe the Thunder are going to become a dynasty?
Look, I think they have what it takes, and I think that the way they have set themselves up with runway and salary, they're going to able to be a very, very good team for a long time. A player gets too expensive, they already have the means to replace him. You've got a lot of guys on that squad, Jalen Williams, even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who still have room to get better. However, the only thing I would say to pump the brakes on everybody is it is very, very, very hard to get to an NBA Finals and win it. And we have seen that with teams who we thought were anointed. The Boston Celtics were the favorites to win the title again this year. They couldn't even get there because of a huge injury. And then something happened with the team chemistry and Kristaps Porzingis. There is always a this and a that and a that comes into play with these teams. Tyrese Halliburton gets injured during Game 7. It's very, very hard to win an NBA title. Everything has to go right. And so that is where I would pump the brakes on, oh, my God, this team is going to dominate for years to come.
Well, Rachel, if they were giving out championships and rings for being the best in the business, you would already be adorned with several of them. Thanks so much for joining us, my friend. Hey, Joe Burrow's coming off a career year, but the Bengals also missed the playoffs. Cincinnati has missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, and a young fan reminded Burrow about it this weekend. Take a listen.
You're my favorite player because he's on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's amazing.
We're going to have a great year for you.
Better make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wow, calling you out, Joe.
Rightfully so.
He's stuck in there. You better make a play on, bro.
Yeah, let him go.
Like, all this. Got glasses on, jewelry on. Yo, hi, nice to meet you.
Hey.
About
Yo,
6
these
years
kids
old.
getting bold, man. These kids getting bold. James Jones, put up or shut up time for Joe Burrow.
Put up or shut up time? This was actually a tough question for me because Joe's been putting up, so it ain't like he got to shut up. But he do got to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow has to get into the playoffs because he needs to put up when it's time to put up. He needs to make that play to beat Lamar Jackson. He needs to make that play to get that extra W because if he gets an extra W, he's in the playoffs. And Joe Burrow in the playoffs has showed us that he can beat Patty. He can beat anybody that he goes up against because he's been to the Super Bowl. So for him, it is time to get to the playoffs. But it's one thing I love about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow don't make excuses.
True.
If you ever hear Joe Burrow step up to the podium, whether it's a bad call against him, with it, he don't never make excuses. If he got to make the play, he'll say that. So Joe Burrow, as you told the little kid, hey, we're going to get it done, you got to get yourself into the playoffs. You are too good of a quarterback. You're in that elite company. You have to make the playoffs. 3 years straight not in the playoffs, that's unacceptable for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe's special. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. But it is put up or shut up. I need you to get in the playoffs. You are too good not to be in the playoffs. And I think it's like, as a fan of the game now, as I'm retired, like, I feel like I'm getting cheated. I'm getting cheated I'm watching the playoffs without Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
That's a good
It don't even make
point.
sense.
That's a good point.
He's so good and so I can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
And I can't see you only in the regular season, but not in the playoffs. When I'm watching Lamar Jackson, I'm watching Patrick Mahomes.
Josh Allen.
I want to watch you, Joe, because you are just as good as them.
That's a
Yeah,
great point.
so he got to put up.
That's a 10 out of 10 no notes.
Gotta
I would
put
say.
up.
That's
a great
usually I'll be ready to.
Hey, but these kids are real quick. I had to check my son the other day.
What
He
happened?
said, "Oh, Dad, man, you got carried to the championship. You 2 championships, you got carried." I said, "What you say?"
Yeah.
Cause I forgot he a kid. Like, boy, I said, man, you ain't nowhere near me. You better keep working hard. Cause you know he working out and he half doing stuff. I said, yo, the way you playing, you can't get carried to the Super Bowl. You know, I forget he a kid now.
So did you agree you did get carried to the Super Bowl?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. With Tom Brady and Pat.
Yeah.
But you can't say that.
Kids always go.
You gotta work hard.
Shady was out there. We was working out. Our kids was working out together, and he told me that story. And I said, I tell my kids, you can't mention you better than Pops till you catch a touchdown or run a touchdown in the NFL. You can't say you better than me. So until that day, I'm way better than you, dog.
I had to tell them, show me a running back I ain't better than that's been in the Super Bowl the last 10 years.
Does a preseason? We need to establish ground rules for the kids right now. Does a preseason touchdown count?
What is that?
No.
That's like getting a
gotta be on the
alternate
books.
Pro Bowl.
It got when they type in your name, it gotta say Emmanuel Acho, 29 tackles in the game. It gotta say something. It can't be preseason tackles. Nah, preseason
I
touchdowns
go hard
ain't
on
on there.
and listen, I'm honest with my son. He like, yo, Dad, did I kill? I mean, I guess for you killed. I wouldn't say I killed. I would be mad. I would be in my room all day the way I play if y'all was you. Yeah. I keep it real with him. Yeah, tighten your game up, son.
Ain't good enough. Ain't good enough. My kids will be sitting on the bench with me. You're not helping. You ain't good enough.